Have you ever looked in the mirror and quietly wondered, where did that spark go? Not in your appearance, but in your energy, your drive, that feeling of being fully alive. Most men over 50 don't notice it all at once. It's subtle. A little more tired in the morning, a little less motivated to make plans. Conversations that used to light you up now feel flat. You tell yourself it's just part of getting older. But what if that's not true? What if the slow drain you've been feeling, the one you chalk up to aging, isn't really about age at all? See, most men don't realize they're stuck in routines and beliefs that are quietly wearing them down. Habits they picked up without even noticing. Ways of thinking that sound reasonable but actually rob them of purpose and clarity. And here's the part no one talks about. You don't have to feel like you're fading. You don't have to accept that slow slide. Today, I want to show you something different. Because there are 5 everyday habits, simple, seemingly harmless things that good, strong men fall into. And these habits, they're quietly unplugging your power, your mental sharpness, your energy, even your confidence. And number 3, that one's the most deceptive. It shows up as comfort or rest, but it's likely the reason you wake up feeling flat, unmotivated, and emotionally distant. Stay with me, because at the end, I'm going to share a small daily habit that changed everything for me, one I believe can help you feel more alive again without overhauling your life. When was the last time you moved your body, not out of obligation or routine, but simply to honor its strength, to preserve the freedom it gives you every single day? I'm not talking about intense workouts or running laps around the neighborhood. I mean the small, quiet forms of movement that often get overlooked. Stretching when you wake up, walking to the end of the driveway, even standing during the commercial breaks of your favorite show. These may seem like tiny actions, but for men over 50, they can mean the difference between maintaining independence and slowly, silently losing it. As we age, the natural temptation is to slow down. After a lifetime of hard work, responsibilities, and pushing through, it feels like we've earned the right to rest. And we have. But what most men don't realize is that too much stillness becomes a trap. The aches in your knees, the stiffness in your back, that feeling of being just a little less steady on your feet. These don't just come from age. They come from movement being replaced with inactivity. Your body isn't giving out. It's simply reacting to being underused. The truth is, your muscles don't shrink overnight. Your joints don't suddenly stiffen. Your balance doesn't just disappear. These things erode slowly, quietly over time, often because we stop moving just when our bodies need it most. In fact, research from the CDC shows that 1 in 4 Americans over 65 experiences a fall each year. Not because they're getting older, but because they've lost the strength and stability that movement helps preserve. That's not aging, it's the consequence of inactivity. Think of your body like a classic car. It's beautiful, full of history, built to last. But if it sits in the garage untouched, it begins to rust. The tires flatten, the battery drains, the engine stalls. And soon, it's not a machine you can rely on. It's something you have to tiptoe around, careful not to push too hard. But if you start it up once in a while, take it for a short drive, check the fluids, give it a little love, it keeps running. It stays strong. So does your body. You don't need to overhaul your life to protect your strength. Just 10 minutes a day can change everything. A slow walk around the block, gentle stretches by the bedside, chair yoga while listening to the radio. These movements whisper to your body, I still care, I'm still here, I still want to feel strong, steady, and capable. And your body listens, because it doesn't need you to be perfect, it just needs you to show up. There's a story I can't forget. It's about a man named Bill, a man I once knew as the heart of every room he walked into. He had a booming laugh, a sharp wit, and a way of making everyone feel at home. He hosted barbecues in the summer, told the best stories around a campfire, and rarely missed a gathering. But then retirement came. His days grew quieter, and not long after, his wife passed. What followed wasn't dramatic or sudden, it was subtle, quiet, and slow. He stopped calling, he stopped coming around. He began to vanish from the world, without anyone noticing at first. And by the time we did, he was just a shadow of the man we remembered. That's the thing about loneliness. It doesn't announce itself. It slips in during the quiet moments, settles in your bones, and begins to change everything. What I learned later shocked me. Loneliness is more dangerous than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let that sink in. We talk about quitting smoking, cutting sugar, reducing stress, but how often do we talk about what happens when you stop connecting with others? When you go days or weeks without a real conversation, without someone asking how you're doing and truly meaning it. For men, especially those over 50, this is far too common. We've been taught that independence means strength, that talking about feelings or admitting we feel alone somehow makes us less of a man. But nothing could be further from the truth. Connection isn't a luxury, it's not optional. It's a basic human need, just like food, water, and rest. Without it, the heart suffers, the brain slows, and the soul begins to dim. But here's the beautiful part. Connection doesn't have to be complicated. It can begin with a phone call to an old friend, a conversation with a neighbor over the fence, a handshake at the community center, or showing up to a weekly group, even if you don't say much at first. You don't need a crowd. You need presence, real connection, a moment of being seen and heard, because those little moments build something powerful, a sense of belonging, a reminder that you're still needed, still important, and still very much alive. So don't let isolation convince you to shrink back. Don't let silence take up space where laughter used to live. You are not alone, and you were never meant to be. There's a hidden thief that robs so many men of their strength, clarity, and vitality, and most never even realize it's happening. It doesn't knock loudly or make a scene. It creeps in during the night, stealing your energy before the sun ever rises. That thief is poor sleep. You might have convinced yourself that waking up several times a night is just part of getting older. Maybe you've come to accept that groggy mornings, daytime fatigue, and short tempers are simply the new normal. But the truth is, they aren't signs of aging. They're signs that your body and mind are running on empty. Science has shown that consistent, high-quality sleep is one of the most powerful tools we have for staying healthy and sharp as we age. While we sleep, our bodies aren't just resting, they're hard at work. Muscles repair, the brain clears out harmful toxins, hormones rebalance, our immune system gets its tune-up. And when we rob ourselves of this nightly restoration, we slowly unravel. Poor sleep has been directly linked to brain fog, weight gain, irritability, low testosterone, and even accelerated aging. It doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects who you are. Yet so many of the things that sabotage our sleep are completely within our control. Late night scrolling through the phone, sipping coffee in the afternoon, zoning out in front of the TV until we nod off. All these habits tell the brain to stay alert when it should be winding down. What most people don't realize is that good sleep doesn't start the moment you close your eyes. It starts an hour or even 2 before that. It's about sending a message to your body that rest is coming, that it's safe to let go. Imagine how different your days might feel if your nights truly restored you. What if, instead of dragging yourself out of bed, you woke up with the kind of steady, grounded energy that carried you through the day without needing a nap or extra coffee? That's not a fantasy. It's possible. Start by dimming the lights an hour before bed, swap the phone for a book, sip something warm and calming, put your devices away, and let your brain step out of the noise. Do this for a week. Not perfectly, just consistently. And you may find that energy you thought was gone isn't gone at all. It's been waiting for you to come back to it. We spend so much time thinking about what we put into our bodies. cutting back on sugar, choosing the right supplements, eating more vegetables. But how often do we stop to consider what we're feeding our minds? Every headline soaked in fear, every angry social media post, every late-night news segment filled with conflict and doom, all of it becomes part of your daily mental diet. And just like a poor food diet can damage your body over time, a steady stream of negativity can quietly erode your emotional health, your energy, and your sense of hope. What's truly alarming is how your body responds to this kind of constant mental stress. When you're absorbing negativity all day, your brain releases cortisol, the primary stress hormone. And while cortisol in small doses can help you react, in a crisis, when it's always present, it begins to wear you down. Chronic cortisol buildup affects your heart, weakens your immune system, and even disrupts your sleep. It's no wonder so many people feel tired, numb, or just flat out burned out, and they can't explain why. The source is often invisible yet relentless, the content you consume without even thinking. But here's the part most people forget. You're in control of what you feed your mind. You decide what goes on the menu. You can choose to stop grazing on negativity and start nourishing your thoughts with what uplifts, inspires, and heals. It doesn't mean ignoring the world or pretending everything is fine. It means balancing what you take in. You can stay informed without drowning in despair. Try turning off the news after 15 minutes. Replace an hour of mindless scrolling with something that lifts your spirit. A favorite song, a documentary about human kindness, a funny podcast that makes you laugh out loud. And before bed, reflect on 3 small things you're thankful for. You might be amazed at how that simple act shifts your entire mood. The mind, like the body, thrives on care and attention. It needs peace, it needs beauty, it needs space to breathe. And when you start filtering out the noise and choosing nourishment instead, something shifts. You start to feel lighter, more hopeful, more alive. Your energy isn't gone, it's just buried beneath a pile of stress you no longer need to carry. Let it go. Choose better fuel. Your mind and your heart will thank you for it. One of the deepest fears many men carry as they grow older isn't about wrinkles or grey hair. It's the fear of losing mental sharpness. That slow erosion of memory, that moment when you walk into a room and forget why you came, the frustration of names slipping just out of reach. It can feel like the first sign of something bigger. But what if I told you your brain isn't broken? It's not fading. In most cases, it's simply underused. It's not that you're incapable. Your mind is just waiting to be challenged again. The brain is a powerful living system, and just like a muscle, it strengthens through use. This ability to adapt and grow, called neuroplasticity, doesn't disappear when you hit a certain age. It's still alive and well into your 70s, 80s, and even beyond. But here's the catch. It only activates when you push it, when you give it new puzzles to solve, new patterns to learn, new languages to speak. Without that challenge, the brain doesn't grow. It coasts, and eventually it settles into stillness that looks and feels like decline. Too often, retirement or slower schedules give us permission to drift. We watch more TV. We scroll more. We stop trying new things because the routines feel comfortable. But comfort, when left unchecked, becomes a quiet enemy of growth. The hours spent watching shows or checking news headlines might feel like relaxation, but they offer nothing in return. No spark, no progress, no real mental stretch. What your brain truly needs is stimulation, real, joyful, curiosity-driven engagement. That could be as simple as learning a few new words in another language each morning, doing a crossword puzzle after breakfast, or taking on a new hobby like painting, woodworking, or even playing chess online. Dance, too, is a remarkable activity. Not just for the body, but for the mind. It engages memory, rhythm, coordination, and both hemispheres of the brain all at once. These aren't just hobbies, they're workouts for the mind. They bring it alive again. You are not too old to grow. Your brain is not finished. There are still so many roads left to explore, books to read, skills to try, ideas to chase. Don't let your sharpness fade from neglect. Nurture it, challenge it. Give your brain the joy of effort, and it will reward you with clarity, confidence, and a renewed sense of who you still are and who you're becoming. If you've stayed with me this far, then maybe something inside you is already beginning to shift. Maybe you've started to see that getting older doesn't mean fading away. It doesn't mean shrinking into the background or giving up the things that once made life feel rich, exciting, or meaningful. Growing older, in its truest form, means becoming wiser, more compassionate with yourself, and more aware of what truly matters. It's not about what's lost. It's about what's still possible. You are not too old to change. You are not past your prime. You haven't missed your moment. You are still here, still learning, still full of life. And even if parts of you have felt tired, stuck, or uncertain, there is still so much ahead waiting to be claimed. There's strength you haven't tapped into yet, joy you haven't felt in a while, and connections that can still be made. Your story isn't over. It's evolving. Don't feel like you need to overhaul everything all at once. That's not the point. The change starts with one small decision. Just pick one habit, something simple, something doable. Take a short walk. Call a friend you've been thinking about. Turn off the news a little earlier tonight. Try something that makes your brain stretch, even just a little. These little choices, repeated over time, have the power to shape your future more than you realize. So ask yourself, what's one thing you can do today to feel a little more alive? A little more in control? A little more like yourself again? Start there. And keep going, because the truth is, your golden years are not a closing chapter, they're a whole new volume. And you get to write it one wise, intentional step at a time.